Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rob Van Bergen, and I would like to welcome you back to another Pain Free for Life Monday 10-minute training. So today I'm going to be talking about insomnia and the vicious cycle of pain and poor sleep that people endure. I'm also going to be discussing how microcurrent therapy can help improve insomnia as well. So insomnia is a common sleep disorder, and it has a variety of different reasons. With insomnia, you may have trouble falling asleep, you may have trouble staying asleep, or getting good quality sleep. This happens even if you have the time and the right environment to sleep well as well. So if you put these things in place, usually insomnia still occurs, whether or not everything's perfect around you or not. So insomnia can get in the way of your daily activities, and it may make you feel sleepy during the day. Of course, pain can naturally make it harder to sleep, which means we cannot repair, and the cycle continues. So why is sleep important to our health? One of the most critical stages of sleep is what we call deep sleep. And this is where we repair and where we can actually get better, right? If you've ever gone to sleep and you've felt sick when you went to bed and you've woken up the next day, and then it's kind of taking you a while to realize that you're feeling better, that is sleep and the power that it has. That is it really manifesting in that healing capacity and fixing you while you are essentially passed out to the world. So without sleep and with too much of what we call sleep debt, which I'll talk about in a minute, we'll end up with what is commonly referred to as brain fog. So we'll find ourselves unable to think straight, and given time, we will be more susceptible to conditions like dementia and general memory problems, as well as extreme mental fatigue. And this is compounded because all of these problems are fueled by inflammation as well. So it's all kind of involved in what we do. So, what about sleep debt? I mentioned this in passing, and it's kind of hard for people to understand as a concept. But ultimately, sleep should be perceived as a line of credit. But unlike a line of credit, it's actually extremely hard to pay off. Many people will have massive sleep debt. Not getting adequate sleep over a series of days causes sleep debt to kind of progressively build up day by day. For example, a person needing 8 hours of sleep, only getting 5, is going to build a sleep debt of 3 hours that day. And a person with an 8 hour sleep who gets 6 hours out each day for 5 days, therefore builds up a sleep debt of 10 hours. But how do you pay it back, right? If you've got decades of debt, how do you even begin to pay it back? Because in all actuality, you can't through natural sleep. Because it's not like you can get, maybe you build up a big financial debt in real life and then you inherit a bunch of money, right? And you pay it all off and everything is great. You can't inherit a bunch of sleep and pay off the line of credit. But with microcurrent therapy, there may be a way to pay down that debt during the day. But it's still super important to get your sleep back on track, because if you don't, you're just going to keep adding to it. Thinking of the benefits of compound interest, think about compound interest on your sleep health. Now, there's an ideal environment for sleep that I mentioned earlier. And if we're not in that ideal environment, we don't know whether our insomnia is because our ideal sleep environment we've created for us is deficient or because we actually have insomnia. So it's important to kind of establish that. Now, it's pretty simple to actually put this into play because there's a basic and ideal setup which involves only two things that can help tremendously. So the first thing is to cool your environment before bedtime. Countless studies have shown time and time again that the ideal temperature for optimum sleep is 18 degrees Celsius. This is about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. This is because our brain actually secretes melatonin more efficiently when we are at this temperature. And this coincides with our body's natural temperature drop, and it's all connected to our circadian rhythm. So whether or not we're actually on a good path to sleeping and staying healthy. So because of this alone, it's actually worth even using your air conditioning during the winter, because if you can stabilize that temperature and you can get it to that consistent temperature within about an hour of going to bed, then what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for an easier time sleeping. Now, bearing in mind, of course, you use blankets, you do all of this stuff, so you're keeping yourself comfortable, but the environment around you is therefore not uncomfortable. And I've had people question, I've been doing this for the last 3 years using my air conditioner at night, even in the winter when it's snowing outside. And people are like, why don't you just open a window? The point is, you can also be too cold. That can mess with your circadian rhythm as well. You kind of want the temperature to be that ideal temperature if you hope to actually have a beneficial night's sleep. The other thing is to build a sleep environment with consistent bedtimes. And this matters less about when it is and more about being consistent, right? If you go to sleep at the same time each night, even on weekends, even if that time is late, like midnight or something like that, but you get your 8 hours sleep, then what you're doing is you're putting your body into a pattern that enables you to get sleep and to stay asleep longer. And this works on that circadian rhythm once more. So again, we're really building with the temperature and with the like bedtime at that point, we're really building up and benefiting our overall sleep. One other thing that I would not have mentioned if it didn't just pop into my mind is alarm clocks. Um, People need to be careful about their use of alarm clocks. Sometimes we need them, sure. There's some alarm clocks out there that act like a rising sun. They kind of fill the room with light, like a sunrise. These are going to be better for you, and you'll find you'll naturally wake up as the sun is rising, so to speak, instead of hearing the alarm sound. There's actually a lot of cardiovascular distress that alarm clocks cause, and this can cause you to then be stressed going to bed because of these issues. If you happen to live in a place where they've abolished daylight savings time, you're already ahead of the rest of the curve here. What we've seen is, and we see this every single year, there's near a 50% increase in heart attacks the day after we change to daylight savings time when it gets messed up. So this is when we lose an hour of sleep, we have that increase in heart attacks, and when we regain it, we have a decrease the next day when people are gaining an extra hour's sleep. There's a lot of cardiovascular stress that can happen from being forced to wake up and for our bodies being thrown out of whack. So you really want to be keeping and paying attention to these things, keeping track of them, building this healthy sleep environment so that our body is capable of overcoming these developed conditions like insomnia. Okay, so soapbox rant over. Let's talk now about treatment with microcurrent. Now, the first and most obvious point here should be that if your sleep issue is because you're in pain, then obviously you're going to have to work on eliminating the pain to actually resolve the sleep issue. This is best done on an individualized level. There's no way that in the remaining time I have here today, I could go through all of the different protocols that would help people with pain. So work with your treatment coordinator to make sure that all of the avenues dealing with your individual conditions that cause you pain are being addressed. Number one, if your reason for getting up during the night and not being able to sleep is because you're in pain, then we got to work on the pain to knock that out of the equation. Now, if the insomnia by itself is the issue, then the lack of sleep is increasing your pain or exacerbating your symptoms, whatever is going on with you as an individual. Then we can work on the insomnia directly. So the first thing to understand here is that the brain operates on different brainwave algorithms, running frequency patterns through it in order to activate different states. These are your alpha, beta, theta, gamma, and delta, and each serves a different purpose. There are 3 states that really matter when it comes to sleep. You've got your alpha, your gamma, and your delta, okay? If you struggle to fall asleep, you are looking at alpha waves as the answer. So this is our state of rest and relaxation. And if you've ever found yourself sitting there or laying there in bed with your brain not stopping, you're just going through thoughts of the day, then you really would benefit from alpha waves because you are stuck in beta. And your insomnia is one of the easier ones to fix because it's not about an issue staying and achieving deep sleep. It's about actually falling asleep in the first place. So alpha waves tend to run between 7 to 12 hertz. So we want to use the 7 to 12 hertz program and use either the ear clips, these guys right here, these ear clips here, or something like a chi wave pad, right? Where we could put it behind our head like a pillow to run that program through the brain. Typically 20 minutes is enough before bed. The Evolution, the Pinnacle, the Pro Sport 3, that's the oldest professional device. These all have the alpha program in them. So it's easy to just kind of enact that. You can run it all night, but usually in the cases of this, just doing it for the hour, 20 minutes minimum up to the hour while you're trying to fall asleep is enough before bed. The ear clips are loose enough that even if you roll over, they're just going to come off of your ears. So, and the device will automatically shut off. So you can absolutely use that as a strategy there as well. Okay. I also advise people that are dealing with this to do one of their daily vagus nerve treatments before bed for the same reason. If we shift the brain into an alpha state, then it's relaxed and it's able to fall to sleep. If you are stuck in a beta mode, if you're in fight or flight and your brain is constantly running, you're not going to be able to sleep. It's just you're too preoccupied with other things. So if you can't stay asleep and it's not because of pain, then your best bet is to look at the other brain waves and how those can counteract that issue. Because again, right, if you're waking up in the night because of your pain, it's your pain that's waking you up, and that's what we need to work on. If you're waking up and you're not experiencing pain when you wake and you just keep waking up multiple times throughout the night, we got to look at the deep sleep state. This is your delta waveform. It runs between 0.5 and 4 hertz. And if you run this and you disable the automatic shutoff in your machine, you're trying to nudge your brain towards this kind of healthy healing pattern as well. Okay. This is more challenging to do and can only really be done with the professional level device because the program simply doesn't exist in the evolution, for example. Gamma plays a different role. And this may actually be the answer to paying off our sleep debts, because not only does gamma cleanse the brain, reducing symptoms of things like brain fog, anxiety, depression, and yes, sleep deprivation, but it may actually work to pay the sleep debt back during your waking hours. This is something that, again, you can't normally achieve because there's only so long you can sleep. You can't sleep for 24 hours a day for the rest of your life to pay back 10 years worth of sleep debt. But if you are going to be awake anyway, and you can start to cleanse the brain out, you're getting some of the benefit that the brain would get from that deep sleep. So you can, in a way, pay the sleep debt back. Now, gamma is a waveform that runs between 32 to 45 hertz, and it's not easy to achieve aside from during REM sleep and meditation. And one needs to be very good at meditating to achieve the ideal 40 hertz component of gamma that you can get to, right? Gamma states run, typically we like to see the healthy gamma between 32 and 45, but they go all the way up to like 180 hertz, which is very high. This is usually in a very heightened state of consciousness, and usually is where most people will hit with meditation. You need to be almost like at a lower state, and that is harder to achieve naturally. Again, REM sleep is where you might experience this the most, so this is a good way of substituting that. I recommend either using the trigeminal pads, which are these guys here, or the third eye pad if you're using the microcurrent directly, or if you happen to have a Hache or a Chi wave pad to deliver gamma to the brain. This is probably going to be the easiest way to do it and the most comfortable. You're going to deliver gamma with a 32 to 45 to optimize the brain function and help keep what we would like to call a clean brain. The absolutely least invasive way will be that Hache or Chi wave. These can be done for extended periods of time, especially with the Chi wave. If you put it behind your head and you just sit there watching TV, running some gamma, you're going to be overriding that brain state with something that's going to actually clear and cleanse your brain. Okay, so lots of information there, and I definitely did not fit it into the 10 minutes I like to try and achieve normally. Sleep is a complex issue for many people, though, so I wanted to cover it in as best a way as I could. But it's absolutely crucial for our health as well. So we should take insomnia very, very seriously. If it is an issue, it's something we want to address. There's a lot to unpack here. And again, trying to squeeze it into 10 minutes wasn't exactly achievable, but I do hope that you all found this helpful. So thank you everyone for joining me. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments here on the video. Otherwise, I hope to see you next week for another Monday 10-minute training. Thanks everyone. Have a great week.